good afternoon or morning or night, wherever you are, good, whatever. I just want to do a quick video, just kind of explaining my experience getting introduced to, I don't even know what to call it, like the secret underworld of the Jehovah's Witness youth in my city. Well, not just my city, also the two cities neighboring it too. It was crazy. So I sent in some videos before I came back, started coming back to the Kingdom Hall. I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness, but around 12, 13, somewhere in that time frame after my father died, who was not a witness, my mother ended up getting this fellowship. You know, the brothers pretty much, no one came to give me a ride to the Kingdom Hall. I actually wanted to keep coming at that point, but it's like because my mom was this fellowship, they just were like, nah, you know, you can go ahead with her. So whatever. So I kind of fell away from it also. But she went back. She started going back probably when I was 16. She was reinstated when I was 17. And then I ended up going back also when my mother went back to the Kingdom Hall. But so I'd been gone for, I don't know, 3-4 years, whatever it is. A lot of people that I grew up with obviously were my age as well. When I left, you know, we were little kids, grew up and almost adults, you know. And there were a lot of new people that I didn't know, a lot of new young people I didn't know in the congregation as well. But when I came back and I was pretty much, you know, welcomed with open arms. All my old friends, you know, came running up to me, gave me a hug, shook my hand, you know, whatever. They had seen me around town doing things that honestly weren't that great. You know, I was involved with a lot of street stuff, but they had seen me, but like wouldn't really speak. They would keep their distance, you know, from across the street and see me, you know, down the block doing my thing. But and then I saw a couple of them at teen clubs. There was this teen club that was every Sunday, and I would see some of them there. It was kind of funny. They shouldn't have been there, but you know, they had seen me, but really hadn't had a chance to talk to me and conversate with me on a regular basis. So came back, you know, everything was warm. You know, exchanged numbers with a couple people. And I think they kind of weren't sure if I was really going to be coming back all the time, but I did start going back all the time. I was not baptized. I did not get baptized when I was young. I got baptized after I came back. So I got baptized probably when I was 18. Yeah, probably. I don't really remember. But I did keep coming back. And honestly, I had been doing a lot, you know, out in the streets. Witness or no witness, things that I knew morally wasn't right. You know, so I really, at that point, was saying, hey, I'm gonna make a change in my life. I really am gonna, you know, follow this path, be a witness. In my mind, I had the logical thoughts telling me that, you know, things that didn't make sense that I'd been taught as a child, but I had kind of put that to the side and said, yeah, you know, but let's put that to the side for now, and I'm gonna try to be a witness. And that's what a lot of people still do. They take their logic and they just have to put it aside because you know that some things that you're told just don't make sense. It just doesn't scientifically and historically. Some things that witnesses, not just witnesses, but a lot of religions, a lot of things that they're taught just don't make sense. So you have to, you know, put your blinders on and just say, I'm going to believe what I'm told. But I had made a conscious decision to take that path. I thought, you know, all these people here, I mean, my old friends, they were carrying the mic. A couple of the older ones were already ministerial servants. You know, a couple of people that were very young adults or maybe late teenagers when I had left were now in their 20s, and one or two of them were actually elders, were very young elders. And so from the outside looking in, I show back up, you know, I see everybody giving their little comments and carrying the mics, and I'm like, okay, you know, I assume everybody is, you know, what the term spiritual that we like to use. But I was going to quickly get a rude awakening. So after coming for, you know, maybe a month and a half or something, somebody invited me out to like a gathering and said, you know, some of the witnesses, some of the young witnesses were going to be getting together at somebody's house, you know, and I know that that's really kind of frowned upon. But, you know, I went. When I got there, before I got there, a couple different people called me and they were like feeling me out, you know. And a term they kept using, I had no idea what they were talking about. They kept asking me, was I cool? You know, was I cool, or was I like super spiritual? And I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm cool. You know, I didn't know what they were talking about. But apparently it was a code word that meant you do, quote, worldly stuff. You know, and so when they asked me, are you cool? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. I don't, you know, I have no idea what they're talking about. But several people used that term and asked me, you know, before this event came up. So like, okay, cool. So one of the people I knew came to actually pick me up to take me over there. And I think there was 3 or 4 of us in the car. On our way over there, they're like talking and stuff, like, hey, you know, I know you're kind of fresh back in, like you know, you're not gonna go run and tell somebody if you see something, right? I'm like, you know, what are y'all talking about, man? What am I gonna see here? I figured we was gonna be playing charades or Uno or something, man. I don't know. But I get there, as soon as I hit the door, I smelled weed. And I'm like, whoa, you know, even I've never been into drugs or alcohol or anything, regardless of whether I was going to King Mall or not going to. That's just not my thing. I want all of my mental capacity and ability at all times. I don't want to dampen that. So I've never been into that, but I may have not necessarily against it where I'm like, oh my God, you're terrible because you do it. It's not my thing. But as soon as we get there, I'm like, oh, there's like some people here that aren't witnesses? And they're like, no, everybody here is a witness. And I'm like, you know, I know y'all smell the weed, right? And they're like, yeah, we smell the weed. That's why we was asking you, was you cool or not? And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, whatever. We go in, there's liquor everywhere. I see a lot of people I recognize, only 17 years old, some of them 16, 18, 9. Obviously, no one's of drinking age. You know, there's liquor everywhere. There's like, you know, music playing. I remember the exact song when I walked in. It was Jodeci playing. Come and Talk to Me. Jodeci, Come and Talk to Me was playing on the radio when I walked in, and there was all kinds of, you know, crazy grinding, dancing on you know, in this living room that they had made into a dance floor. It was wild. I've been to a lot of parties before I came back, and this was just as wild as any party I had been to, but it was all witnesses. So, you know, I'm just kind of taking it in. In my mind, I'm like, man, this is crazy. They all fake. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting back taking it all in. But one of the young ladies that I actually, as soon as I came back, I kind of had my eye on her because she was very beautiful. And you know, I was looking at more than her face. She was beautiful in all ways, her body, everything. So, but I didn't say anything. But she approached me, you know, like, hey, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. She asked me the same thing. Are you cool? You know, you cool? You know, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm like, no, I'm cool. You know, whatever. And this young lady was like, who was being held up as like the poster child for spiritual youth in the congregation. I remember one of the meetings as I was coming back in that first month or so, she was brought up. She had a part, some special part. I don't really remember all the details, but she was talking about her experiences in school, and you know, how she had to, you know, fight off the worldly people or whatever the case may be. It was a small part, but I just remember that about her. She was always raising her hand, always giving the super intellectual comments, not just the ones where you could tell that they're reading. But I was shocked that she was there, for one. But then she was asking me, like, basically, hey, are you down with all this stuff that's going on here? So long story short, I ended up talking most of the night to her. And nothing happened between us that night. But, you know, we exchanged numbers or whatever. And she's like, yeah, you know, I'm looking towards marriage, blah, 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 you know. And I'm like, well, okay, whatever. But there were people actually having sex at the party. You know, they were going into these back bedrooms and doing whatever, you know, and I know, I mean, you know, I didn't see them having sex, but I know what people going to have sex in the bedroom looks like, and people coming out with the clothes all crazy, and everybody was kind of like laughing and giving each other high fives. It was crazy. But that was my first introduction to it. That was just the beginning. And I mean, at that party, it wasn't just people from my congregation. It was people from other congregations. I had been in a couple other congregations growing up, and a lot of the congregations, you know, we would see each other Another congregation was right there at our Kingdom Hall, but there were other congregations close by. We knew each other, so there were a lot of people there from all over the city. So anyway, that one sister, who I actually was interested in, she called me like the next day or maybe 2 days later. We conversated for a while, talking about things, and she's like, "Why don't you come over?" And I'm like, "Come over, okay." I know you're supposed to technically have a chaperone or whatever, but I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll come over. I go over, and she was just like up front with it, like, "Hey, let's do this." I did it. What am I gonna say? I did it, but I didn't feel bad about it. I wasn't like super spiritual. I was fresh back, but I wasn't even that disappointed in myself. Honestly, I was more like surprised, like, wow, she's wild. And I mean, it was like no questions asked. I didn't even bring nothing up, nothing. And then come the next meeting, she was right back to giving those perfect answers and being that poster child of spirituality. And that was like, that whole week or so was my introduction to the dark side of the of the youth of the Jehovah's Witnesses, that when I was younger, I didn't even know it existed because I was too young, so nobody would have come and talked to me about that. But as time went on, I really, after that happened with that young lady, I really didn't have much interest in her after that, because like I said, I was really trying to come back, and in my mind saying, hey, I want to try to live my life right and end up finding myself a good wife and all that. So she really just kind of came off as cheap to me, and I know I was just as cheap. I'm not saying it's her fault, but I kind of lost interest after that happened. But after that, several other cases, people would call me up, hey, what we doing? You want to go kick it this weekend? And I'm like, man, this is no different than being in the quote unquote world. This is no different. Everything is the same, except for on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, you go and act good. And that wasn't bad, and you kind of got this closed circle of people. In my city, there was tons and tons and tons of beautiful young sisters in the different congregations, tons of them. And then we got 2 other major cities close by where if you can't find any there, there's 1,000 down here to go see. So there was an abundance of young ladies. So to me, I was like, man, okay. I can do this. I can do this. And I wasn't, like I said, I already had those doubts about what was going on. I more was coming back to try to live my life right, which you can do without being a witness, most definitely. And the social aspect. My mom came back. She got her friends back, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna come back and get back with my old friends from who I grew up with. But it was really a rude awakening to me. And as the deeper I got, I start to see as more and more people, presiding overseers kids. And there was, at the time, there was what was called a city overseers kids. I went down to to one of the close by cities, same thing, city overseers kids, wilding, just wilding out in the hotel room. And it was just widespread. There was probably 90% of the youth that I knew in the entire city were involved in this kind of stuff, and probably 10% weren't. And it was just kind of shocking to me. I was a little bit disappointed, honestly. But through that, like I said, they had known me from seeing me on the streets and all that. There was a couple young witnesses who thought they were like the man. They thought they kind of ran things around there, and I've never been the type to be a follower. So I ended up being anointed as the leader of the rebel witnesses without asking for it, because I got in a fight. So one of these young men, they were always talking crazy to everybody. Oh, I'll slap him, I'll punch him. Never fought though, and the other people were like, oh, whatever, man. And then they were scared of him, but that's not me. So he said it about me one time because some young sister that liked him or that he liked told him that she liked me. So he sent word to somebody, oh, when I see him, I'm gonna slap him. These are witnesses, you know what I mean? So somebody comes to me at the Sunday meeting and says, yeah, so-and-so said they're gonna slap you. And I'm like, they're gonna slap me? Yeah, they're gonna slap you. Okay. So after the meeting was over, left the Kingdom Hall and went to find him. Like I went and got somebody, said, hey, you know where so-and-so live? Yeah, he went over there. There were a lot of people there. A lot of witnesses were there, and I brought, you know, some with me. And I just walk up to him. I'm like, so you gonna slap me, man? And he's like, man, yeah. Before he could even get the sentence out, I punched him, dropped him. And like everybody was shocked because I guess you're not supposed to really fight. I didn't know that. The dude said he gonna slap me. So I guess it was supposed to be all talk. You know what I mean? So, but I punched him, dropped him. He's just sitting there, nose bleeding. Everybody looking in shock. Like, why'd you do that? I'm like, man, don't ever say you're gonna do nothing to me. Get back in my car and left. After that, it's like people I didn't even know was coming to me like, hey, man, this and this is going down. What do you think we should do? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I think? I don't care what y'all do, man. And it was such a weird dynamic that was just so hilarious to me because I would laugh like with a couple of the people that I was close with, like a couple of them I went to school with and knew all through the time I was gone and was always socializing with. I'm like, man, these people are wild, man. They crazy. Like they think they're like some kind of gang or something, right? It was crazy. But, you know, I ended up walking away from most of them because they just ended up being clowns to me. I'm like, man, you got some of them were acting like they were in gangs. Some of them, you know, I already mentioned the weed, running around smoking weed all the time. I'm like, man, y'all, this is like completely fake. You know what I mean? Completely fake. So I just wanted to share that. It was kind of a funny thought. I was having some memories. I talked to somebody last night that I grew up with. Some memories I was having. We was laughing about some of the stories that took place back then. But I don't know if it was like that for anybody else. You know, it was just wild. Like the youth were wild. And I'm not saying they were bad and I was good because I was right there being wild with them. Once I realized there was a green light, I was like, all right, let's go. You know, a lot of them, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of the people that I'm still in contact with have nothing to do with the witnesses anymore, who were involved in that. There's a few that do, but most of them don't. You know, I'm still friends with them, like some of them on Facebook and different stuff. But I just wanted to share that real quick, my experience with the rebel, the rebel Jehovah's Witness youth growing up. And all of that happened probably within, or like I said, after all that, I still got baptized. I still got baptized at like 18. I think I was 18 when I got baptized. So still got baptized, still went ahead and was going out to service all the time and all that. I never told on anybody. There were several people who ended up telling on each other for different things. And when I thought I was going to get disfellowshipped, I have a disfellowshipping video that you can see about it. I was threatening to tell because I was going to tell one of the elders' kids, one of the elders' grandkids who was in my judiciary committee. I was going to tell on them to save myself because I didn't want to get disfellowshipped. Because my mom said if you get disfellowshipped, we got to stop having the Bible study at the house. And we can't do that. So my goal was whatever happens, don't get disfellowshipped during this meeting. So, but I was going to tell once, but I didn't tell. But it was crazy. There was wild, crazy parties and all kinds of sex and all kinds of stuff going on, drinking, smoking, just like if I hadn't been a witness, you know. So just wanted to share that real quick. If you had a similar experience, let me know. Morally, like I said, you don't have to be a witness to live morally right. Morally, I know morally those things were wrong, and I don't live like that, you know, now. But in my youth, I was like, whatever, let's go, let's have fun. But leave me a message if you dealt with something similar, or if you just want to talk. My email is in the channel description. If anyone ever wants to talk, hit me up. I'd be glad to talk to anybody. Talk to y'all later.